Jim Hoagland, welcome to WPC TV. You are a contributing editor to the Washington Post and, of course, a Pulitzer Prize winner, and we first met many years ago in Beirut. Let me ask you about American foreign policy. How is it changing? How has it changed? And what prospect do you see for America's role in the world?
Of course, there's been a tremendous change from the George W. Bush days of striding big and falling quite rapidly in foreign policy. Barack Obama came to office feeling that it was time to reduce America's involvement overseas and to concentrate more on the home front. And as a result of that, and as a result of events, of course, he's made a point of trying to lower the American profile and involvement, particularly in the Middle East. It's a glass half empty for Barack Obama, the Middle East is. He sees the Middle East as something of a wasting asset. We've done as much as we can do. It's time now for others to do more, or for the people of the Middle East to take their destinies in their own hands. So we have this idea of rebalancing the American presence, particularly into Asia more, pivoting into Asia. Those have been the main themes of Barack Obama's foreign policy.
But does this mean that the idea of America as the indispensable nation is beginning to fade? And if so, what does that mean for the Israeli-Palestinian process, where you have John Kerry devoting enormous amount of effort now?
Well, you fastened on one of the more interesting aspects of the Barack Obama second term foreign policy, and that is he has quite an activist Secretary of State who has his own views on some things and is not afraid to put them out there. Hillary Clinton was an effective Secretary of State, particularly in figuring out where there was an opening for her to do things on her own, but to keep a rather low profile about it at that time. Kerry has more trust from the Obama White House and therefore has more room to maneuver. And one of the things he has said that he wants to do is to try to contribute to a Middle East peace. And he's very energetically taken that on. My sense is the president has said to him, well, try it, see what you get. And if you get something, I'll back you up. But the president is not putting his own shoulder to the wheel in the Middle East. He's been disappointed there, and now he's pulled back.
Is the president putting his shoulder to the wheel, as you put it, in terms of a new relationship with Iran? And if so, what does this mean for the relationship between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia?
President Obama has shown that he is better at dealing with America's adversaries than he is at dealing with America's allies. And the case you mentioned is the perfect example of that. He has extended a hand to Iran several times. The first time, he got his hand slapped pretty much by the Iranians. He's persevered, though. He seems to have a feeling that he wants to show people the way that they should behave, what they should do. And so, therefore, he's putting a lot of emphasis on Iran, at the cost of his relationship with Saudi Arabia. That's very clear. And I think if there's a criticism to make of the president's shift in foreign policy, it is that he doesn't foresee the consequences of those shifts. He doesn't take action before moving toward an adversary to make sure that the allies are in some way on board or at least compensated.
But presumably fracking has played a part in reassessing the relationship with Saudi Arabia.
To some extent. I would say we'd be pretty much where we are even without the fracking revolution. But that's certainly made it easier. It's made it a lot easier for the United States to say, in 5 years, we won't need the Middle East as much as we do today. 5 years, China will need Middle East oil at least as much as it does today. So maybe China should be doing a little more. I think that's Barack Obama's framework.
Final question, Jim. You've often come to this conference. You moderate panels at this conference. What do you like about it? What do you get from it? What do you expect from it?
I think it's a characteristic of the World Policy Conference is its very bilingual nature. There's an emphasis on French, of course. France is the home of the conference in many ways. But at the same time, there's a lot of emphasis on conducting a lot of the business in English and having an audience that is at ease with both languages and with both civilizations and with both concepts. And there are two distinct concepts of world policy. of world politics between the Anglo world and the French world. And I think the conference brings those two things together in some sort of synthesis that I don't see anywhere else.
Jim Hoagland, thank you very much for being with WPC TV.
John, my pleasure.